Number one, especially with a media site, and this is probably, when I mean number one, I mean this could literally take up 1, 2, and 3, all the same, is site speed. Okay. Media sites, historically speaking, it wasn't a thing. It was like, once the internet hit, a media, let's say media site, and I'll reference one of my clients that I consulted for, but large financial, media site, like I said, probably the largest globally, launched a website, back in, I think 99, kind of, just to get out there on the web, go from print to web, updated their site in 2004, did a refresh in 2012, and then it's been the same since, kind of thing, right? That's horrible. Like, it's always been like the website is on this back burner. And typically with media sites, and I've noticed this, and it's a very bad habit for media sites, is that the C-suite is more of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And the internet doesn't work that way. Like, that's a very, like, that worked when, like, my grandma was telling me, like, not to touch the fan, right? Like, don't mess with my fan. It's been working. It's not broke. Don't start messing with it. I don't even want it cleaned, right? Like, they're so superstitious. Like, don't even clean my fan because it might break something. That's not how you treat the internet these days. Google, and I know we talked, brought it up a little bit about Google algorithm updates, but Google changes so damn much that it's like, you can't, and so does technology. Like, you can't have this idea of like, well, it's good for now, let's just leave it. That doesn't work anymore. Like, you have to get ahead of the curve. Speed by far is the biggest component of that, is speed, and obviously user experience will kind of tie into that. But that'd be the biggest one. The other thing that I see absolutely, I want to say butchered, is site architecture. And as much as I love to put site architecture as number one, I just know speed is just so bad for a lot of these websites that it has to keep that number one field. But site architecture definitely comes in a close second. I still see news sites or media sites with parametered URLs and, question mark, dot, exclamation point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like in the URL. It's like, how does that even happen in 2020? And these are large media sites. Like, I'm not speaking about just somebody who like randomly throws up a media site. I mean, like India Times, somebody that big, I've seen like URL architecture, issues. Right. And so, yeah, I would say that's number two. And then the other thing, man, if I were to add like a 3 to that, is keeping up with technology. Media sites, I have a few of my clients who were ahead of the curve, meaning they took a recommendation that I had several years ago before it was popular. AMP being that recommendation. I remember being in a meeting and being mocked. People thought it was an absolute silly thing. And they're like, AMP is going to be the next Google Plus, like, failure. It's going to end up in Google graveyard, right? Of products. And I'm like, I don't really think so. Like, anything speed related is here to stay. And I remember being mocked.
That did not age well.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And and funny, I have 2 of my clients, large media sites, who went ahead and did it, and they're probably one of the top performers with AMP now. And now you have to think, like, you have the ability to get in the stories. That's the only way you're getting into stories, right? You have to have AMP related content.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, forget about
it. Exactly.
Yeah. There's no way.
Exactly. And when you think of like our generation, or even Gen Z, millennial, I want to say even up to, I think some of the data that we found was like up to like 55 years old, people are going to stories. That's where they're going. If they're on a mobile device, it's just where they're going to go. And so you don't have AMP, you're not there. But once again, kind of getting back to that whole third point, is like, you got to keep up with technology. Like, if they announce something and you see that there's a big wave of, developers getting involved, like, you have to have your marketing teams staying up to date with how the system is changing. Like, that should be your marketing director's job, should be that.